Saturday, the 22nd of March 2014, saw an anti-racism and fascism march in central London. This coincided with the UN Anti-Racism Day going on across Europe. Over 10,000 people participated in the rally from outside Parliament to Trafalgar Square. With the European elections in May, political parties and the media have been dominated by racism and xenophobia. A diverse range of people gave me their opinions on the current state of racism.
So what do you think we can do to help stop racism?
Yeah, to stop racism, people should come up like this. Demonstration like this should be organized. And the second point, the government should step down because they are the one orchestrating all these problems. Yeah. They started migration. If you talk about Christopher Columbus, he wasn't from Africa. If you talk for all these people who migrated there, they were not from Africa. They came to Africa and they took what they wanted, sold their country out, and then now telling people they can't come to their own country. If I read my country's story, it's all about people coming from abroad and taking what they want. Taking people there from Africa, slavery, bring to Europe, and then telling us today you can't come. When they have taken all the power, all the sources, all our brain to build their own country.
I think racism in modern British society is one of the nastiest aspects to current politics, and I'm particularly angry at the way mainstream politicians have used the language and the politics of the gutter to turn people's anger at austerity away and onto immigrants, people from Eastern Europe, people from other countries, and that's really why I'm here. I'm a socialist, I'm a trade unionist, and I think racism needs to be stood up to and fought.
I'm from UK Black Pride, and I represent black LGBT people, black in the political sense, meaning from the Asian and African diaspora, people from Latin America. And in terms of racism, we need to bust it. It needs to be eradicated, but not just racism. We're talking about homophobia and sexism.
How do you think we can help stamp it out?
I believe people play different roles. So even you being here as a journalist doing what you're doing and supporting what they're doing on a big scale, and me as an artist, I think all of these things in different worlds coming together and uniting are helping. You know what I'm saying? If you can, I guess that it's going to be harder to kind of change someone who's been racist most of their life.
Yeah.
But if we start from here right now and they can see things from this early, then it will never get into their systems. Do you understand what I'm saying?
I do understand.
So like they say, the children are the future. So I guess we start there.
I think British society is still full of racism. It goes right to the top, from the politicians taking the lead and through the media, and you see it in the streets and in our communities as well. If you look at the immigration bill that's going through the Parliament at the moment, it's been described by one MP as the most racist piece of legislation that this country's witnessed since the 1960s.
How do you feel that we can stamp out racism? Do you think that we have a chance of doing that?
Of course, racism is not natural. You go to any nursery or primary school and see kids playing together. They don't pay attention to they don't pay attention to each other's ethnicity. They just like talking to each other and playing with each other and so on. It's only when big society starts to intervene on young people's lives and the divisions that are created in society essentially by the capitalist system. The capitalist system has to have means of dividing the mass of people that work and produce the wealth such that they won't actually take control of that wealth. And racism is a core way in which the ruling class seeks to try and keep us divided.
One of the main problems with there not being that much black people here is it wasn't publicised. I found out about this event through somebody giving me a leaflet when I went to my Unison AGM meeting. We've got about 9 Abbots on that stage. There's all these Labour MPs on that stage, and none of them have raised this in their meetings and their articles in newspapers. It hasn't been in the Sun, it hasn't been in the Mail, it hasn't even been in the Metro or the Evening Standards. These are London papers. This is issues for London people. So that's one of the main issues. But another issue is that how are you going to appeal to black males? All you do, if you basically, I'm 27, but if you was born in the 90s, so you'll be about 20 or 18 now. What is out there for you, truly? You come out of school, the education system is institutionally racist in itself. You don't really learn about the black history. You don't learn about Marcus Garvey. You don't learn about some of the unison struggles in Jamaica that forms the PNP party and the JLC party. You don't learn about a lot of those things. And that kind of means that we're not getting the GCSEs that we need. we're not getting our jobs, we're not going to uni, we can't afford to go to uni with the uni changes, so we're not politically active. We'll rather be out there trying to earn money in other ways, which isn't always the best way. We've kind of got a whole apathy in terms of trying to get politically active. We don't really want to get involved because we're thinking, what's it going to change? How is that going to help me? But the problem is, unless we get involved, unless we make a change, nothing happens. We can't rely on politicians. We can't not vote. I'm saying that now, that's the appeal I'm making to anyone who's watching this. You can't not vote. You have to vote. But I'm not telling you to vote Labour Party or the Tories and definitely not UKIP. I'm telling you need to vote for a workers' party. We're standing for the Trade Union Socialist Coalition, TUSC. It's basically made up of trade union members. It's made up of unions. It's made up of the Socialist Workers' Party, made up of the Socialist Party. It's a big Socialist Party spared. And I'm standing for a councillor, and anybody can stand for a councillor. There's no point us standing there and bitching about politicians. If you've got a problem, stand for a politician. All you need is 10 nominations, and you can be a councillor in your area. You can go out there and talk to your neighbours, talk to your friends, tell them, look, I've got a problem, and you can make that difference. You can say, it's what TUSC says, we're against all cuts. There doesn't need to be cuts. There's ways money can be saved. And the problem that we have at the moment is there's no political party that's for the working people. That's why you've got to, when you do vote in the local elections, you've got to be voting for TUSC.
I've been here 50 years, born and bred in Britain, and racism is rife and getting worse. So I'm here today just to support an important cause.
I'm representing the movement against xenophobia, Max. I'm here today to add my voice to show the politicians that there's a lot of people here whose votes won't be won by appearing tough on immigration, and we think that this backlash against immigrants that we're seeing at the moment in our society is pure racism, and we oppose it very strongly.
It is one of many events. There are events before it, there'll be events after it, because this individually is not enough, but if there's more things like this, more people, as I said, more vocals, more noise being made, then it has to change something at some point. Even if it's just somebody is now aware of the injustices and they weren't aware before, that's one more person, do you know what I mean? So that's a minor change, and you have to work with those small changes to incite big change.
Racism is appalling, and I think it's still really prevalent in our society, and I think in politics and in schools and in the media it's still really strong, and I feel like there needs to be things to be done about it, and even things like this makes a huge difference.
Do you think days like this can help?
Yes, this is just a starting point. That's what I'm saying. We are just at the beginning. If I could stand here every single Friday, every single week, and people coming everywhere, then it will help. It will help. You know, what is revolution? Revolution is about people coming out to change. If you read the French Revolution, how the top of the government, people coming up, and talk and say what they can say. If people are sitting in their house and say we are being racist, people are being racist and not talking about it, it never happened.
And what do you think can be done to stamp this out?
Education. It really is. I mean, we come from a huge diverse society. There are pockets there that clearly we're not getting the message across to. I think it starts from little children all the way up, and that is where the education needs to begin. We need to make sure it's part of the curriculum in schools. That way we can tackle it.
It's a disease. It's an unnatural process. It's just like before the Europeans went to Africa, there was no such thing as racism. There was nothing. Africans have been trading all across, sharing their knowledge throughout the whole globe. So racism is a man-made thing. In fact, it's a European thing. It didn't exist before Europeans went to Africa.
We know that this protest was against racism, and racism is basically a device used by the rulers to divide the working class. They want to divide us between first of all, between the Sikhs and Muslims, Sikhs and Hindus. They also want to divide us between the blacks and whites and the Asians and the whites, and because they do not want us, the worker class people, to come together.
First of all, we need to stop the government with their rhetoric about immigration, ongoing immigration rhetoric by the government that seems to put different groups against each other. I think that is wrong. And also we need to fight the undercover racism, the ones that we don't get to see, where the institutional ones. As much as we like to campaign outside, we need to have our people inside, because we need to be on the negotiation table to stop the racism as much as we want to campaign outside as well.
Socialist workers, a socialist
newspaper that talks about how ordinary people can unite together. It celebrates the struggles that we have, the strikes, the protests, the demonstration. There's a strike of teachers next week, for instance. But it also tries to expose the lies and as I said, the myths of things like UKIP or the BNP. Most importantly, though, we're about trying to mobilise people. So I come from Manchester, and we've tried to bring the maximum number of people out so that they can feel part of a movement that can help them challenge racism and change the world.
Okay, well, thank you very much for your information.